Welcome back to this week's episode, and I am sitting down with such a beautiful woman today. She is the owner of 2 salons in New South Wales and was somebody that I had been listening to on a few of the platforms that were going live on Instagram, and I really admired listening to her ethos and the way that she runs her team and her openness to her business approach. And I was really lucky. I had one of my guests put me in contact with her. So we've set this podcast up. And I think that it is just a really refreshing conversation, something a little bit different. She's had so many incredible accolades that we really could have gone into. She's been on the Fame team and Australia or New South Wales Hairdresser of the Year, but I wanted to kind of take it in a different direction and talk a little bit more business and building your team and the different things that she offers to show people that, there's these really incredible and caring and loving business people and salon owners who want to nurture and grow their staff. And sometimes I think as apprentices, you hear these stories of scrubbing the toothbrush on the floor and all these things that, can be the case, but is not always the case. And you can have these really loving, nurturing people around you trying to grow you. So Maria Unali is my guest today. And I'm really excited. I think what she was speaking about a lot too was like different books that she's read. And she's really taken the time to advance her knowledge and her skill to better understand whether it be people or her children and how those books have impacted the way that she leads and her team and all of those things. So actually what I've gotten her to do, and will be in the show notes or on the Instagram page, wherever you find us, is to link some of those books or some of those podcasts or the audio books, whatever has kind of helped her to grow her team or to grow as a person or what she gets her team to listen to. I'm linking in here. So hopefully once you finish this episode, you can click right onto those and continue with this self-development growth that I'm trying to get going. So dive in and enjoy. Good morning. We are taking take 2. We're going from AirPods to headphones. It's the hardest thing, all the technology and the plugs changing. It's very confusing, but we're here. We've made it. I was just saying to you that I've had so many men and guys on the show that I'm really happy to be getting some females back in. It just seems to be the way it's been going, but you have come so highly recommended, and I feel like I've been seeing you popping up all over my Instagram feed and lives with all the people that I like, watching and being associated with. So I'm excited to have you on today, Maria.
I'm excited to be here.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, the last one I watched was with Laura and Stuart and yourself. And I messaged you after that before we'd even been put in contact because I really loved what you were saying and the structure that you have your business on and the way that it seems that you really look after your staff. And I thought that is totally, before we were put in contact, something that I want to get people aware of in this podcast and get students and new people coming into the industry to know that there are bosses like this that exist and want, the best for you as an employee, but also for yourself and your well-being. So I'm really excited to dive in to this chat with you and hear your story. And yeah, I can't wait.
So I can't wait to share. It's funny that that we connected after that. And, I had a lot of messages from other salon owners around that. So it's a really strong message, and I think it needs to be shared.
Incredible. Well, why don't we start at the beginning? The one thing that I do kind of know, I love not knowing too much. I actually didn't watch your full interview with Jack because I was like, I don't want to know because I want them to be authentic, like what I'm genuinely curious about. So I know that your dad owned a salon, but from there, I don't know much. So obviously you grew up watching the industry and kind of being involved, but maybe start at the beginning and tell us how that happened for you.
Yeah, sure. So, my dad had the salon since 1981, and I actually didn't want to be a hairdresser. I grew up doing the tea and tidy thing, and I thought it was as boring as batshit. I was like, I don't want to do this.
That is the worst part of the job.
Yeah, I know. And then, the salon manager at the time, she got me doing little things like colouring hair and all that. So I was like, yep, cool, no worries. I'll do a bit of that. And then I got the marks to go to uni when I hit year 12. And I was like, I'm going to go to uni. And I did 1 year, and I was doing like really random subjects like English lit and philosophy and Japanese, Italian. I did economics, which really helped me in business.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah, I was doing like, it felt like the HSC every semester. Like it didn't feel like me. So then, much to my mum's pleasure, actually, I decided to get out of uni and work at my dad's full time.
Oh my gosh, it's like the opposite usually. That's the
Yeah.
huge conversation and controversy we've been having, is that most people are pushed into this university route, and when they say they want to be a hairdresser, it's like this disappointing thing for the people around them.
Yeah.
And you had the opposite experience, which is
Yes,
amazing,
yeah.
really.
It was funny because my mum, before I said I'm going to go to uni, she's like, "Oh, I thought you wanted to be a hairdresser and follow your dad and da da da." And I'm like, "No, that's not like." And I think it's one of those things with the mother and daughter. You just will just want to like rebel against anything they want to
Oh my
say,
God, like, you want me to be a
But they
hairdresser?
always,
I'm gonna go be a dog groomer.
but they always know. They always know what's best for you. So yeah, I did. So yeah, I got out of uni and started doing hairdressing. And I said to my dad, I was always in the back room, even though before I decided that I wanted to be a hairdresser. I would always sit in the back room and read, AH Day at the time, or Culture magazine. Like I was always sifting through and just seeing images and these incredible hair that was created. And I'll never forget, I was sitting there and I saw, I can't remember what year it was at the time. It must have been about 2004, 2005. And Anthony Nader had created this incredible collection. And I was like, oh, I want to do this. And I said to my dad, I said, but if I'm going to do this, I want to do it properly. Like I want to like do all the education and do all this. Because, just to give a context, I was in like this little, suburban salon. It was, an hour out of Sydney. You didn't really like go out of, your comfort zone. You didn't really like make your mark. It was just like, you just did hair, and it was, we did lots of perms.
Yeah.
We did lots of that stuff. So, and I was doing like uniform layer in 10 minutes, like bang, 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 like, and I remember the first time I was cutting hair, like, because my dad's a barber. So like he would just, maybe it was like my at the end of my first year, even start of my second year, like, literally one Saturday, he goes, "You're going to start cutting men's hair today." And there's no real training. Like, he's just like, "That's what you're going to do." I think we were charging like maybe $16.50 or something, like, and I was just like, and I just sit there the whole day, like man after man, and just like, just do a barber haircut and just do the clippers. And I just remember my last haircut was obviously the best. But yeah, like that's the sort of, salon that, my dad had and we grew up in, and it was a good business.
Cool.
It's great business. So that was my apprenticeship. And then, yeah, I'd like to say the rest is history, but it was a lot of hard work.
Oh my God, do you know what I just said the other day? I said to my partner, I'm like, I hate when people say, "and just like that." And I'm like, it's not just like that. Nothing happens just like that. They're like, "and just like that, my child's 12 or something." And I'm like, no, that is not what it is. He's like, "Oh, you're really passionate about it." I'm like, it's just the stupidest thing. Nothing happens just like that.
No, it's the worst
There's a lot
euphemism.
of work that goes into all this.
Yeah, and I think that's what people see at the moment, especially with socials. Like, there's this big highlight reel and that's all they see. And it's just, we were, slogging it when there was no social media, and we had to like make real connections when we saw them at fashion weeks or on set, or, like you had to get somehow to people to know your name or to call you,
Yeah.
Well,
that was actually something that I had written down in my notes, that you felt like that you weren't going to have as much opportunity because you were living outside of Metro Sydney. And it's something that really I think is important to talk about, because I think there's as I've grown up in the city my whole life. Like I've always worked at a really big salon in Canada, and when I moved here, I was so fortunate. I've worked in like kind of the key suburbs with the big salons, and that's all I knew. But when I've gone into more education stuff and me putting on education, and you realize there are so many hairdressers outside of this inner circle that's all everybody around you is at this same caliber, and you forget that there's so many other people out there. So I think it is so important, and something I really do want to touch on in this chat with you is that was something that you felt, and now look at you, and you've been able to make this incredible career and connections and
Yeah.
life out of it, even though you didn't grow up in the core of the city.
In the circle, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's always this drive to just work so much harder than than maybe, like, I remember, doing, I've told this story before, but like even just doing, like, say, a fashion week show. I remember Lisa Ho, and the call time was 3 a.m. with Alan White, and like most of them could just roll out of bed and catch a taxi in, and I was just like, set my alarm for 12:31, like, and just having to drive in. And I think there's this, not to say that the other stylists didn't want it as badly, but like, there's this advantage in adversity. When you have to struggle to get somewhere, it really does serve you well, but I didn't feel like, I think I had the backing of my salon. That's what made a big difference as well. Like, I had this security of, stylists working for me, and then me being able to take a day off here and there, to do a fashion week or to go on set and assist, big names.
Whereas
and so
if you were
I
an
had that.
employee, it might be like you're taking a day off and you're losing the pay and you're losing the clients and all these
Yeah,
things, but you had a team
100%.
to support you in that. Oh, that's
Yeah. And I think, like, it also, I also allowed myself to make the decision and give myself permission to maybe not go down that route, because, like, I just knew how important it was to have the business and have the salon and have that security. And editorial was just so insecure at the time. Like, I mean, it's very insecure now, but like, in terms of, I just remember getting to like maybe 18 months in and assisting very regularly. Like, I was on, the agencies in Sydney, like I was just on their books, and they would call me all the time to assist big names. And I would have to, and they would only call me the day before. So I would have to cancel full, a full column of clients every time that happened.
Yeah.
Although I was able to do that long term, it was detrimental to my business. And I realized, especially if I wanted to build a business and a long-standing business, that sort of life was just not for me, especially because I got married quite young. We wanted to have a family, like I had all the dreams, and, doing
Which
editorial.
is hard when you put your hand or your foot or whatever the heck this saying is. I'm like notorious for getting sayings wrong. But when you put all your body into all these parts, it can be really hard because you're giving like, 50% here, 50% here, and you're wanting, like, I've had that, like, oh, I want to be doing this platform, but I want to be doing clients, and I want to also go away on the weekend, and I want to do all these things, and nothing gets your full
attention
self and has the ability to fully grow. So it is really hard to delegate those tasks.
And that's what I found over the years. Like, it takes a lot of sacrifice. I know, like, especially all this talk about AHFAs and, like doing all the award submission stuff, it's definitely got me hungry. I'm like, should I enter again? Should I enter again? But like, I don't know, it's just one of those things you really have to make decisions about, like, what you really want, like what serves you well, and, looking after yourself for the future. Although I love to say I live in the present, like as a business owner and as a mum, like you're always like, like 5 years ahead.
Overthinking it a little bit.
100%. Definitely
so when
overthinking.
you said you got your name into those agencies, I saw that you had done a lot of volunteering on sets. How did that happen? Like, what kind of came first? Did you contact agencies saying, I'm an apprentice, I'm available? Like, how would somebody, I guess, coming into the industry who wants to be doing that? Or did you start volunteering and then you got put on the agencies? How did that kind of happen?
Geez, I can't remember now how what happened, chicken or the egg.
I think I started the story of volunteering and how
I think I started doing a bit of makeup, and I started doing a couple of courses from Ray Morris and Mandy Lavana, and interestingly enough, Sarah Laidlaw did my hair for my wedding. So like I sort of knew that, like I sort of knew that realm a little bit. And then it was just like, basically like, this is what you have to do. You have to assist first before you become this big editorial person. And, the way you assist is you call agencies and you send them emails. This is the day you send the email. Like, I got a lot of instruction from people like Ray Morris and Mandy Lavana to, the avenue that you need to go down. And then when I decided makeup wasn't my thing, I wanted to focus on hair, then I obviously made really good relationships with people like Alan White for Fashion Week, because I was a GHD salon. So like I was able to work with him. And then once they sort of know your skill, you're able to, I suppose they can call you back. They, and then it just sort of starts like a bit of a, snowball effect.
Yeah, once they know your name, then you keep getting the calls.
Yeah, and they know your skill, like they can trust you on set, or like, I remember doing big campaigns with Richard Kavanagh, and it was just like one of those things where you go, I can trust Marie to do that set or whatever it is, or, pass up. I remember even if I wasn't doing anything, I'd clean out his kit. Like there was just nothing like that was, too low for me. Like,
initiative to just do things and not just sit there, twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah. I think that, and I always think about that. I'm like, what would I expect from an assistant? That's that's what I suppose led me to act the way I did or behave. And I think because I had a salon, I always knew what was expected of my apprentices. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll I know what to do and how to act, whether it's earning brownie points or whatever, like, call it that. But like, I just, I think there's a natural
what would be valuable to you if it was role reversed.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah.
So did do you own the salon that your dad had, or what was the like?
Yeah. I basically
have two now. So
he at the time, like I just got married, and we were sort of building a renovation because the shopping center at the time was shifting shops, and I just said to him, I'll just, my dad's like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. He was, getting a little bit older, and my brothers had opened up a pizza shop around the corner, and he's like, what, I'm going to just do pizzas for a little bit and help them out. I was like, okay, cool. And so he just said, you just buy the renovations off me. So I didn't purchase anything. He just said, you just renovate it yourself the way you want to do it, and that's basically the shift that we made. And, me and my husband put out a mortgage on our house, and we fit out the salon, and then 7 years later we found another space that was, at the time the salon was called S81 Hair, but then when we moved to Penrith we called it Salon Kin and rebranded, and made it a bit more sparkly.
Made it more your own, like you put your touch on it.
I think it was a different space, and I wanted to create, as much as I go, it's still an established business, and we were, moving. It's probably about 15 minutes further west. Okay. I still wanted to make it a brand new business, because it was like a lot of it, the prices we repriced, it wasn't a new team, but I wanted to basically change everything, in terms of a rebrand. It was fully like the way we dressed, what the place smelled like, what how clients felt when they walked in, because there was a lot more natural light in the shopping centre. So it was a completely different feel. So as much as we had so many existing clientele, we wanted to shift it, because the colour work that we were doing at the end at S81, we brought into Kin, and then we said goodbye to a lot of clients that, just wasn't a right fit anymore, which is a bit sad, but like, it's the evolution of business, really.
Yeah. So cool. And did that business skill where did that business kind of brain come from for you?
I laugh at this because like there's big lessons. No, not like hours sitting with my accountant trying to understand profit and loss. And I've taken a lot of courses over the years. This is not natural to me. My dad, he ran things quite simply, and business is simple in a way, you take more than that goes out, like that's what you do. And because there was so many, when you talk about an experience-based business, there's so many little expenses that you don't account for, whether it's the candles you purchase for the smell, or whether it's, the little cards you include in like online store. Like it's just little things like that you don't account for, that you're like, oh, that's an expense that, that comes out. And my dad, in his business, he never did anything like that, because he wanted to keep it simple, and he had a team, and it was just there for lifestyle, to make a bit of money for his family, to live really well. And I suppose in businesses now, or in my business especially, like I want it here for the long game. I want to make an impact. I want an experience not only for my clients, but for my team. But yeah, I just remember, like, I mean, even those years of assisting and then coming back and then going, oh, I was in the red a lot. And I remember speaking to my accountant, and he's just like, oh, Maria, you know, it's not that your rent's more too expensive. It's you need more bums on seats. Like, you need to be doing more. And I just remember for a full year after that, like, I could not, I didn't have a choice. I had to, you know, head down, bum up. Because we were trading 7 days, I worked 7 days.
Oh, wow.
I mean, in saying that, like, I didn't have any kids, or like,
Yeah,
I
so
was there to work.
you could take
I
that
could,
priority
yeah.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got the business back up, and it was a big lesson, because then I sort of started to understand business and when to say no, have boundaries when you could spend. Yeah, and then when we moved to Kin, I did I did a financial management course with Belinda and Carl Keeley, who are incredible with numbers. And that really just made me really understand and break down, you know, stock costs and all that sort of stuff, because I didn't have really, like, I had a budget, but I didn't really know why I was doing it. It was working out, like, we we're making money, but I would rather understand the breakdown, the numbers, why, because then if I get myself in, you know, a little bit of a pickle later on, I know how to take myself out of it, you know. But yeah, just learning. It's networking, isn't it? It's like learning from people, what other people are doing. You know, I got a really, like, I feel like a very strong, you know, close-knit group of industry mates that I can call on to go, what are you doing? You know,
And did you
then
get those connections through doing your photo shoots and entering the competition scene and stuff? Is that kind of where you feel like you made that connection more so?
yeah, definitely, 100%. And I think because, you know, you're like-minded and your businesses run quite similarly, so when you do start a conversation, you connect really easily. You know, and so you know, you can learn from each other, whether you know, I'm calling on them for like a numbers question, and they can call on me for a team question or whatever it is, you know.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm so grateful for that. There's some big, you know, very strong women out there that I call my friends, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, the girls.
They're the girls.
Now you entered and you won New South Wales Hairdresser of the Year, and also have been on the Fame team. Did that experience of winning New South Wales Hairdresser lead you to Fame team, and that, or was it opposite way around?
No, so yeah, I entered. I'd done a couple of shoots before, like just for Hair Expo and just doing, you know, and worked with a couple of different photographers. And then when I entered AHFA in 2014 and won, it was just like this thing where Fame team, I think M Division had taken over the year before Fame, and it was just like catapulting. And I was like, oh, I know that's where it's at. I need to like get onto that. And so I ended up applying. I actually ended up applying the year before, and it's so funny. I did that. I did the chat with Jack, and I was just, and afterwards, I was like, it's like I woke up the next day going, I actually entered the year before. It wasn't my first time entering.
I forgot a whole chapter of my life.
Literally like that. And it was funny because, like, I call it baby brain. Like, as soon as you have a kid, like, it's just like a constant baby brain situation. But no, I applied the first year. And then I had to pull out because I fell pregnant. And then the year after, I entered, and then I got in, luckily. And then and then it was, and then 2 years after that, it was 2015, I got into Fame team. And then 16, I shot for HFAs again, and then 17, I shot again and I won. So oh, you know, I was just saying to Jack, like, it's literally, I think about my career, you know, pre and post Fame team, like, because it's such a massive difference, like that mental.
What I was just gonna ask you. I was gonna be like, what was the change? Do you think that catapulted your business or you, or like what? Yeah, what was the impact
I just think it's like the exposure to the level and the caliber of people that you have at arm's length. Like, you're able to sit down and have a chat with, you know, people like Tyler Johnston or Akin Konitsi or, you know, Sharon Blaine. Like, it was just like, you know, I mean, I had
that you idolize that seem like unattainable become like, oh, you're a normal person sitting beside me.
Yeah. And they were so willing to share. Like, they were just like, you know, you had this time with them, and it was full days sometimes, you know. You know, and of course, you know, Brett from Murphy Gozzard, who was creative director at the time, I was just, you know, he's become such a close friend. And I mean, everyone you meet, because you spend so much time with them, you just like, you become such good mates that, and some have gone on to, you know, have their own salons and businesses. So like, yeah, you create that really close network of people, which help you along the way, you know?
So cool. And
Yeah.
now with your salon, I have written down here that the kind of description that you have of it is a lifestyle space. So what is kind of like the ethos or the yeah, I get, is that
Yeah.
the word you use? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, you know, as I have said, I'm not a morning person. This is not morning, but I was up late last night, so sometimes my words get a little jumbled.
That's okay, babe. Gotta be kind to ourselves. That's okay. I suppose I've got Salon Kin, you know, which I've had 5 years and then 7 before that. But like we've just opened up Salon Kaya, and you know, they're very different, but they, you know, they all sort of have that. They both sort of have that vibe where, you know, you want to walk in and you want to feel like you live there. You know, like
Yeah.
you want to feel like it's a really safe space and it's your home, and you can spend hours in there if you want, and not just to get your hair done. Whether it's, you know, you come early to your appointment, you just want to hang out, do a bit of, you know, work on the laptop at the communal table, or you know, if you're not if you know, if you've finished up early and just chill in the lounge, like it's that idea where we just want to create a safe space for people to come and just chill out with us.
I definitely got that vibe from your Instagram when I started kind of having a little scroll. I was like, oh, it's like a nice little beach calm scroll, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's a good page aesthetic. I really
Yeah.
was enjoying that.
Oh, look, I got to say, I can't take the credit for that.
Oh,
My marketing manager, Katie, is incredible. She is just like this eye that is just second to none. She manages both socials, and she, you know, her caption work, I have to give her credit for her caption work because she tries really hard for it.
does she
And
work in the hair salon or she is a marketing person?
yeah, so she's employed by me. So she has been for on and off 10 years. And she, you know, helped me, I suppose, you know, guide me in terms of aesthetic and brand and voice and all that. So she's a big part of that.
So
And I'm
cool.
forever grateful to her
Because I
for
think
that. So,
something that's really hard, and I've thought about even with the podcast, is being like, what takes the most time is the Instagram, the caption writing, the tagging, making sure you
yeah,
have the right location, like all these things is what
yeah,
actually takes me more time than doing this. Like this is
yeah,
art, you know? And I've
yeah,
thought about being like, oh, maybe I'll get somebody to do that for me. But I find like, how would they know how to write the caption? Like I was one in the like, so have
yeah.
you found that's been hard, like giving that little control away, or because she worked in the salon, she knew what your vibe was
Yeah,
anyway, or
I think that's a big part. Like if you're outsourcing
yeah.
and you know, I think it's the biggest advice that we give people if they are asking about that sort of side of the business is, you know, if you can employ someone, even if it's like, you know, a stay-at-home mum that has a background in marketing that can do like 8 hours or 10 hours for your week, you know, like that would be more
Yeah.
beneficial than outsourcing to a big agency that are just like robotically maybe, you know, I mean, I'm assuming, but like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
getting through the clients, you know.
Interesting.
You know, maintaining voice is such a big thing, and it's so overwhelming doing all the you know, all the planning. Like I
Yeah.
know she will sit there some days and she would just do captions, and it take a big chunk of her time, you know, like, and it's just a lot of brain space, especially for it to be quite original. You know, like that's, she really prides herself on that, and you know, and I'm so grateful that she has so much energy for it, because
Yeah.
it is, it's a big thing, especially when the business is evolving, and she's just, you know, whether she's got to pop a meme in there every now and then, like, you know, she really wants to make it make it quite cool. She is cool. She won't say it, but she's very cool. Um, but you know, she does work hard on that. So yeah,
Cool.
definitely
That's
kudos
so
to her.
good to know. And
Yeah,
something that I know you are proud of is that you have a lot of long-term staff. So I think something that is heard a lot within the industry is this turnover and, you know, clients coming in and being like, "Oh my God, it's all new people again in here," or, you know, like whatever it may be, like you seem to have some long-term staff. So what is kind of your um strategy in hiring or in keeping staff, or how have you gone about that to create this culture within
yeah.
your salon that you're proud of?
So I think it's definitely evolved over time. Like when I first took over the business, I was definitely a different leader. Like, I took on a lot of like old school mentality because, my dad had
That's
it for
what
such
you'd
a long
seen.
time. And yeah, and his voice was in my head as well. So there was a lot of unlearning. That's not to say that it was bad, but business in itself and the salon industry had evolved so much beyond that like I couldn't be that same boss. So yeah, it just took a lot of learning and unlearning. So like I sort of hooked into a lot of Simon Sinek. I think he was transformative for me. My physio, I remember giving me, and when I say I read books, like it's audio. I can't just sit there and read a book. So
Okay.
I remember my physio giving me the audio file to it, and I wasn't ready for it. And then I started to then he's brought out another book, Leaders Eat Last, and I was like, okay, I'm getting into this. And there were some things along the way that really stood out for me that I practiced with my team, and I just got a really strong response, like a good response, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the way I need to talk to them. I need to change. They don't need to change. I need to change. And I think it was just like that accountability that I was like, okay, if there's something, I need to take accountability for everything that happens in my business. And if there's not something going right, whether it's an attitude from a staff member or whatever, it was just really important for me to go, okay, cool, this is what I need to change. This is what I need to do. And I suppose, I suppose I've come this far, and I do have a lot of long-standing staff, and they're pretty amazing. I've come, I think, a little bit lenient over the years. I'm like, yes, because I feel like, becoming a mother just softens you so much. And, you imagine how, when your kids go into the workforce, how you would want them to be treated. And I think that sort of changed me a lot as well.
Oh my God, that's such a key thing. I've had many moments in my career where I've been spoken to poorly, or somebody around me has been spoken, and I'm like, it's from people who have children, and I'm like, I just cannot comprehend how you could speak to us like that,
Yeah.
knowing what about your kid? Like, that's
Yeah, yeah,
such a
100%.
valid point, and something that is so I mean, regardless of if you have kids or not, you shouldn't speak
No,
like that to
no,
people
yeah,
anyway. But
100%.
it
Yeah.
is something that is really nice that you have had that thought to be like, that's why you won't behave that way.
Yeah, that's right, 100%. And I think, I don't know, I think there's this really important balance between that mama love and that tough love,
Yeah.
and I think that's I mean, I'm still working on it. It's definitely a journey for me. I know a lot of Brene Brown's work has really helped me on a personal level, but also on a business level, and in leading the team as well. I don't know, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. I think people think, oh, look, she's got so many long-standing staff, and oh, look at her, like, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, even, when people say, oh, like, tell me about your culture, it's just like, oh, my culture's ever evolving. It's shifting all the time. It's not, you can't just wake up and change the culture. It's not, something that happens over such a long period of time. So if you're willing to change, think about, moving forward, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, but you have to start. You have to start now, whether it's, I think the biggest thing that stuck with me is when Simon Sinek says the biggest thing or the biggest, thing about a high-performing team is their level of trust. And so people will give you their blood, sweat, and tears, if you have that, that mutual trust, that mutual relationship. And then learning, Brene Brown's idea and that acronym of trust, and applying that, and then seeing the team soar and go, okay, this is what we have to do. And it's not even about technical stuff. Like, I can teach them, I can't teach them how to color, but like,
I can.
I can, send them to seminar, all that, you can teach them. And people say this all the time, you can teach skill, you can't teach attitude, you can't build trust overnight, you can't do all that. Sometimes it is as black and white as like saying, I'm sorry, being as vulnerable in a team meeting and saying, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Or, but I think there's this old school mentality of like, I have to be strong, I have to be the leader, I can't let them see me cry, or, I can't let them see me, like, be weak. And it's just like, oh, that's not what we're going here. Like, we're, even just giving them a call and just saying, hey, the way that happened is not okay. Can we redo this? Can we circle back to that? Or whatever, I don't know. Or even just clearing up stories in your head. So I suppose, like, my my strategy behind hiring and all that has always been obviously based on attitude and, the
Yeah,
person that they are.
that's so
And
important.
I think just what happens along the way, though, there's this gap between, like, when they're, like, say 17, 18 to 22, 21, 22.
Yeah.
And a parenting book actually taught me this, is this, like, there's so much going on in their brain, hormone. They need someone to be there as a mentor.
Yeah.
They need someone to be there to believe in them, and they will test you. They will test you like a toddler will test you. They'll see how far they can push you, and it depends. Some have pushed me to the point where I've had to let them go, even though it hurt my heart, but
Because I
then
guess you're
some I
right. We
have,
come into the industry so early. Like, I started working at the hair salon I worked at when I was 17, and I was a brat
young,
at home.
yeah.
Like, like those things in high, maybe not quite at that age, but younger than that, and there's people who
Yeah.
come into that space, and I remember too being like, how can you think that you can behave like this at work? But I guess it's understanding that part of their brain that it hasn't quite developed yet, or that they need that mentor, and understanding what their home life is like too, and maybe not having that structure and being able to provide that for them.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, I think a lot of salon owners are just like, you know what, that's just not my problem. I'm here to build a business, and I'm here, like, to, whether it is like just have that exchange, profit and loss, all that. But, and that can happen 100%. You can do that. I just don't think it's as sustainable as really caring and looking after your team. I feel like, even as a woman, like, I feel like I have this duty of care to be a mentor to my younger guys, and, I mean, otherwise, like, who else? They've got their mum, but it's very different to, if that seeing someone older, in that workplace environment, or have that work ethic, or whatever it is,
Totally.
and they need that.
And what are the things that you offer to them externally from, say, being in the salon? Like, I know that you've had physios in, and why are those things
Yeah.
important to you, or the education that you do invest in them? What, sets you apart, I
Yeah.
guess, from having something different?
Yeah, I suppose, there's this thing about building better humans, not just great hairdressers. And I think, if they have, most of the time when people aren't performing at work, it's because of something outside of work.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to sort of look at it holistically and, apply that to their whole life. So if they're really struggling to, find the time to exercise, it's just like showing them some simple, poses, or, stretches that they can do in the space of the back room, or, like, we brought a physio in. I know that it's really hard at the age of 17, even up to the age of 21, 22, to, like, manage your finances, because, like, all of a sudden you're out of school and you're earning all this money, and you're just like,
Yeah.
so we bought a finance guy, and he was just, like, really good. He basically, like, just taught them foundational saving. It's
Oh
like,
my
this
gosh, that's
percentage
so
goes here
good.
and this percentage goes there. So it was very black and white. And they felt that was really helpful, because a lot of them, like, I know I wasn't really taught financial literacy as a kid. Like, I had to learn it, through business. So I think learning those skills even at 17 is just like, oh, okay, cool. That's how you save. That's what, because there's always this little, thing in your head. I'll just take a little bit from that pile, and it's just,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Oh,
Um,
I'm the queen of that. I always put
yeah.
it aside, and I always add back in. Maybe I need to come to one of your seminars.
Yeah. I'm a join. Yeah, but we've done retreats as well before, like, and that's always been really fun. We've had to obviously postpone, put them on hold because of COVID, but they've been always really fun, 2 to 3 days, and I take them out, and the couple have been at Byron, doing surf
Oh
lessons,
my God,
just teaching them about
cool.
balance, and I mean, I suppose they have really little lessons, like, but it all comes down to just trying something outside of, and then conquering, and then having that confidence to do just to continue on, or, it's about resilience, right? Like, that's what all you're teaching them.
Yeah. Oh my God,
But
that's so
yeah.
cool. I think you're right that the nights that you have out with your team, whether it be the Christmas party, like, all year, I think any salon you work in, most people look forward to the Christmas party. That's like the
Yeah.
fun night, even like the awards nights or whatever it may be.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you come back and you're talking about that in the salon and it creates a
Yeah.
vibe. And, to
It
have a
does.
boss that sees that and puts those sort of things on, not
Yeah.
just for those those big occasions, is really important. And that you're so right that when you're making your team happy outside of the salon space, not in a work environment, going surfing or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
bowling or something,
Yeah.
that those are the things that you think have made an impact in the way that you have a relationship with them as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, like, it's really hard for a 35-year-old woman to relate to a 17-year-old girl. Like, I'll be honest, like, especially when, like, they're doing all the TikTok dances and I have no idea what's going on. But, like, I think if we, for example, if we both go out on the surf and then we both suck, we're like, okay, like, we have something to relate to, whatever it is. But, like, I think, it's just about noticing, like, weaknesses, and then just building the team on that as well. Like, I mean, we all go on this self-development journey and personal development journey. And I think if I can give that, to them in, in the smallest way. I mean, I know most of them aren't listening at times, like, I've brought a psychologist in and we spoke about communication. I know that there's some points where they're like, I don't know what she's going on about, and I don't connect. But, like, at least I'm planting the seed for them to go, oh, remember that time when we were at the salon and this lady said this, something will connect,
Yeah. I've had
So
so many
it's like a
moments
slow
like that where
burn.
I was like, why didn't I pay attention to that? Like, that was so valuable. And here I was, like, being like, ugh, I'm hungover. I'm like, I want to go for
It's
Christmas.
true. It's such a slow burn when you're investing like that. And a lot of people,
Yeah.
like, are just like, what, some of these things for a couple of hours have cost me a couple of grand,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things that you call it an investment, and you go, you know what, like, it'll happen over time. It'll come back to me, in terms of a return of an investment.
Yeah, totally. And I guess it
It,
has in terms of the fact of your long-term staff, like
yeah,
people that were in that course that they were rolling their eyes at when they started with you are now with you 6 or 7 or 8 years down the road.
yeah.
And that's when it is that investment in a different way too, by having them stay with you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, people just want more out of a workplace now, I think. We
Yeah.
spend so much time there that we just want to we don't want the drama. Like,
Yeah.
we've got enough drama in our own lives. We don't need it at work as well. So, like, I mean, it's not like, I talk like this and it's not hunky-dory all the time. We have our really shitty days. We have, a bit of projection here and there, but it's about how we manage that, how we, you know, how we I suppose put out the fires in that respect, how we be vulnerable in that space enough to go, oh, that wasn't okay, I'm really sorry I spoke like that, and and then moving on from it, instead of holding it in so hard that you're projecting out onto everyone.
Yeah.
That's not okay either. So it's being really black and white like that. So I
Owning
mean,
it too. I think that's what, if anybody respects something out of a boss, it's an apology or an owning when something didn't go right, because sometimes those conversations do not go right on both
no,
accounts. But to for somebody, I think as women too, maybe, I don't know, but you become resentful more, like I've never let go of that conversation that didn't go well for me, and I never respected my boss after that, because you spoke down to me and spoke to me that way. And I knew in that one, I was not in the wrong in that one, that even just an apology would have been
yeah,
all that would have smoothed that over. And I
yeah,
would have been able to move on and carry on. And instead, I've left the business, and
yeah, and it's
into
just
my,
acknowledgement, 100%.
yeah, which I think is important too when understanding you're working with sometimes teenagers or that age bracket,
Yeah,
that one thing and that one little conversation can set them off on a long-term situation.
yeah, 100%. I think when we went through the 7 elements of trust, it was really it was eye-opening for me, because, like, I just know what I needed to do to build trust in my team. And it's just as simple as like, you know, having boundaries for yourself, what's okay, what's not okay. And it's even giving the team permission to say to me what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I know a lot of the time they're still building that. They're still building like, can I tell Maria that that was not okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I always encourage that,
It's
but
this
like,
hard thing when it's your boss. I think no
it's
matter
really
how
hard.
how
Yeah.
you know approachable they are or say they are, you're
Yeah.
always like, yeah, that's great. You're saying you're approachable. What if I tell you that I didn't like how you spoke to me and I'm gonna get all the
Yeah.
shit shifts now?
Yeah. Well, I do encourage people to, you know, like at the end of the day, like, what do we have to lose? You know what I mean? Like, if you know, I mean, I don't know what you know what most salon owners are like, but like, if one of my guys came up to me and said, "Hey, Maria, like, can we just go back to that conversation? Like, this was not okay. Like, it's okay to like, you know, send me that message or communicate this, but like, the tone was really not okay." I'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, let's do a redo. Like, what's happening?" Because there's, you know, they say in the absence of data, our brain will make up information. So like, basically, like, what's happening is we're just like relaying all this like misinformation in our head, and
I'm replaying the situation in a way that it actually probably didn't happen. Like I'm adding things to it because I'm dwelling on it.
Yeah, 100%. So like, it's a lot of that training as well. That's just, you know, and it's really a lot of repetitiveness. Like, I talk to my team a lot about that. Like, you know, every at least, you know, 4 to 5 team meetings, I'm like, guys, this is why we're here. You know, why are we here? We popcorn around the room and they, you know, say whatever they're going to say. And I'm just like, we want to be really good at what we do. We want to service clients to the best that we can. We want to have fun at work.
Yeah.
This is what we do. We also have to be like to have fun and to do what we do. You know, we want to be high performing. We want to get it done. You know, it's funny, recently I sent out an anonymous feedback form. So like every year I get them to do, it's just like a Google sheet where like, you know, I don't know who, it's all anonymous. So like they send through their answers. And one of the questions is, you know, what would you do for the next, you know, three months? If you were the boss, what would you do? You know, and obviously you get a little bit here and there, like no Saturdays, you know, no more long days. But a lot of it is like they know how hard it is to satisfy 15 people. So, you know, a lot of it is, yeah, like, you know, I don't know, like it's going really well. Like I love, you know, what I do here and all that. So it's, you know, it's nice when they can, yeah, it's nice when they can say that and go, okay, acknowledge it and go, yep, cool, no worries. Like that was, it must be hard and I don't want that job. It's funny. I don't know what I've done to my team, but like no one wants to open up their own salon.
Well, this is where I was gonna go next. Kind of was what inspired you to open the second salon, and they're quite far apart, actually, right? Like it's not like they're like
Yes, yeah.
suburbs.
Yeah, they're about an hour and a half apart.
What inspired that, and why did you choose to do them so far apart? Like, do you work between both? How do you keep that fluidity, I guess, between the two businesses and the teams, and you being in like, yeah, how do you operate that?
So I work there on a Wednesday. So I do 8 to 8 on a Wednesday at Kaya. And then I do, well, when we come back after COVID, I'll be doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Kin. And then
doing Sunday to Sunday. I don't even work weekends right now. I'm quite picks my own hours really nicely. And the guy I work with, he was like, Crystal, we're going to be seeing you on Saturday and Sunday, I think. I was like, oh, really?
Damn. Yeah, no. So I'll you know, that's how I basically split my time. I've got a business partner at Kaya, so like it's a little bit different in terms of you know, distribution of responsibilities. You know, it's a little bit more.
And is that a hairdresser, like somebody who works in the salon, or it's just a business partner and external? How does that happen?
No, so like we've known each other for a long time, and you know, she approached me, she found a space, and she's like, "Let's do this." And I was like, I always said, you know, if I was to open up another salon, I would do it with someone else. And obviously, I've moved to Wollongong now, so it's just nice to have something really close to me as well.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so she's in there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and she's not a hairdresser, so she was in corporate sales for a long time. So her ability to obviously, you know, in terms of customer service and managing clients and all that sort of stuff is, you know, really her strength. And then yeah, I'm there to sort of, you know, manage the team. Well, the team doesn't really need to be managed. I've got a, you know, an incredible team there. We've got 3 full-time colorists, and Mandy, who's a master cutter.
Oh,
so you know, they
hire them
work
from
really well
scratch
together.
when you open that salon, since it's so
Yeah.
far from your business in Penrith, right?
Yes, yeah.
See,
Yeah,
I
so
might not be from Australia, but I do know a little bit of suburbs. I actually know Penrith. I have a really ridiculous story. One of my girlfriends lives in the Blue Mountains, who's from
oh,
Canada. And when I
yeah,
went there, I went to visit her for the first time, and I was like, "What the heck?
yeah,
Why you moved all the way to Sydney and you lived or all the way to Australia and you live in the? It's
yeah,
beautiful, but we had to go to Penrith because my
yeah,
brother had broken my phone on our road trip, and I couldn't get a hold of her to let her know I was there. We went to the Penrith shopping mall. That's why I know
yeah,
that
yeah,
suburb
yeah.
so well. We had to go. Oh God, that was a trip, but I've been there.
It is,
So
it is a true, babe.
so
No,
funny. So when you
yeah.
were hiring staff for that location, it was completely new. Nobody came from your previous salon there. So you totally had to instill this kind of culture or salon vibe or all of that into all these new staff to make sure everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, well, with Kaya, so Scarlett, she'd worked for me at Kin for like 2 years, and so
Oh,
she's um, you know, on a personal level, she was like, nothing was her in Penrith anymore. She's like, you know, I just need to move close to my family because she's from Temora in the country. So she's like, you know what, Wollongong, if people move out of Temora, they either move to Canberra or Wollongong. And she's like, I really want to move next to the beach. So I was
yeah.
like, well, I'm opening up so on. So like she ended up coming over, which is incredible. So
Oh, that's
she, you know,
good.
the culture was there from, you know, from the like the very get-go.
Yeah.
And then Megan, who is another colorist there, she started on opening as well. And I just put the word out just on my socials, basically, just to say, you know, I'm opening up another salon. I just, you know, I'm hiring, blah, blah. And then she contacted me. I was so grateful. She's
Oh, wow.
incredibly trained colorist. So she's there as well. And then Mandy, I just knew from industry, and I knew she'd obviously moved to South Coast. So you know, I was lucky enough for her to come and say, you know, can I do a day or two? And I was like, yes, come. Very lucky. And we've just hired another one, Hannah, and she's doing very well. And she's another color, well, you know, cutting colorist all rounder.
Yeah.
And she'd only worked for like 2 weeks, and then we went into lockdown. So like she's
Oh,
just keeping them all engaged, you know. So
yeah.
you know,
What are you doing with your team while you're off? Are you total time off, or what are you keeping?
no, so we're trying to keep them really well engaged. So I'm doing weekly check-ins every week on the phone. So I'm always calling them, just making sure they're okay. And then we're doing, you know, lots of online learning as
Yeah.
well. We just trying to set up little bits and pieces. I don't want to overwhelm them. I know they've got a lot of time, but like I also don't want to, you know, say do this, do that, because,
Yeah.
you know, you can imagine with 15 staff for the first 2
Everybody reacts in a different
weeks.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I also the business couldn't afford to exhaust, you know, the bank account either. So I just made sure that for the first 2 weeks I paid them for training. Whatever you turned up to, I think we organized 4 or 5 hours for the week for the 2 weeks, and then so I paid them for that, and then they obviously
It's really
qualified
good for you. Yeah.
for the grant. So
Oh, you have
you know,
grants.
like I suppose just I've got an education manager that manages lots of team stuff. So she's been organising that with reps and companies just to, you know,
That's a
just
lot to
different.
have another body in there. So that person they work for you all the time organizing education for you?
Yes, I'm very lucky. Sarah
Oh
is
my
actually a
gosh.
TAFE teacher, so she does about 16 hours a week, and she does, you know, she goes between the salon and TAFE. So she's a TAFE teacher, so she helps out the apprentices with their TAFE work as well. Make
Oh,
sure online learning is like, you know, up to scratch, and you know, all the paperwork that goes beyond that. And she also helps out me managing the training that we have in the salon. So all the stuff that goes, you know, okay, liaising with the financial advisor or the physio or the nutritionist, like stuff like that, she'll always liaise. And she does all the education for kin as well. So I do a couple of marketing seminars for Austere and with Katie as well. So she'll either manage that, the bookings, you know, sending off, you know, the
do you think that's a
invoices.
really important part of the business for you to delegate things like that that allows you to not be swamped? Like
Yeah,
how
I
long did it
think.
take you to learn that?
Look, I think for me, having kids really allowed me to do that. Like I just had to let go, because like if I was going to be still, a really present mum, I had to let go of some responsibilities. It's just allowed the business to grow.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just do it all and then think that it's just still going to like, grow or move forward or develop. Like you have to play to people's strengths. I have an incredible coordinator on the desk, Briley. She's, so well equipped to do the huddles and manage the team and day-to-day stuff and the clients. I feel like I do have this dream leadership team, and they make me look very good. And all I'm doing is basically most of the time I'm just saying yes or no. They're like, what about this? I'm like, yep, and then they'll be, maybe on the other hand, they'll be like, oh, I was thinking about this. I'm like, oh, maybe next week or maybe next time or, so they're very, I do let them go a fair bit. Like if they've got an idea, I let them run with it. I definitely think letting go of control has served me really well in the past. So like I've continued just to do that. If it's someone's business, like I know it's a lot of salon owners have a lot of control over their brand, and that's okay. But I just don't have, because I've moved an hour and a half out from Penrith from King. It's just made it really hard for me to be there all the time.
Trust your team. You have to trust who
Yeah, 100%. And they know that I trust them, and they trust me to make the best decisions for the salon. So it's served me very well.
Amazing. I think that people, listening would be just really, I would hope, inspired and be like, oh my gosh, there's people out there who believe in their staff that way. And there's a lot of that, but sometimes it can seem few and far between. I think if you have a bad experience, I'm not saying for myself, but a lot of the apprentices get discouraged and get over it. You're shampooing for 4 years, like what is those things happen. I think it's really important for them to hear from people like you within the industry who have a voice. And something that really stuck with me when I was listening to you talk with Laura and Stuart again on that freelance kind of subject was just that you said, I'm talking to people about it. Like, that's not the way your business runs right now. You have employees.
Yeah.
But to just be open to conversations and open to change within the industry, whether or not it is the route you go in, to just understand why people are choosing different ways is just a huge testament, I guess, to the kind of boss you are and to being open to those conversations. Because a lot of people aren't, and that is why they don't keep staff, because people don't feel comfortable going to them to talk.
100%. I think, the biggest thing for me is I just needed to get curious. I needed to get curious about what this problem is and what's happening with people, because I don't want, a couple of years down the track for one of my guys to say to me like, oh, I'm going freelance because I don't like it here. Like I need to know what the problem is, so then I don't, I learn from that, and I don't, maybe do it in my space or, I don't know. It also doesn't come with no sacrifice. Like I think a lot of people think like, oh, she's got enough, for wages, or she's got a marketing team, education coordinator. And it's just like that is taken from my profit, like
that's your salary going to them.
So like that's the choice I want to make, to be able to like have maybe more free time for, my kids, or, to be more available for my team on a training level, or to have one-on-ones with them. I just feel like I do need these people around me to have a better flow. But 100%, I think that there's a lot to say in, having more conversations like that and being more curious, with that realm, because you have to ask the question. I don't know why we don't do more exit interviews. I think it's just so important.
100%. If I had an exit interview, I would have I would love that. I'm the type of person who would like that.
Yeah, you've got nothing to gain or lose. Neither does the salon owner has everything to gain.
I think so too.
So like I just think why we go and do more of that, instead of holding so much resentment.
And I think sometimes the salon owner doesn't realize the impact, no matter how old you are. I'm almost 30 years old, that the impact that it does have on you quitting. Nobody likes quitting. Nobody likes resigning or nobody I didn't enjoy doing that, or any of my friends that I talk to, that I don't think sometimes the salon owners realize the impact that it has when you aren't treated nicely when you leave or aren't spoken to when you leave or anything like that. Like, we put our heart and souls into the business as well and into the clients, and it can be really disheartening when you leave and it's not like an okay thing.
Yeah,
Of course
100%.
there's different circumstances, and sometimes people don't go about it in a good way of leaving or whatever it may be, but those conversations or that stress of running into that person plays on our head a lot, especially within an industry where we are quite close, that you
Yeah,
think you're going to run into them. I just can't imagine ever running a business in that way. That I think it's so important, exactly what you said, an exit interview, know why
yeah,
your staff left and what they're not happy about, what they didn't feel comfortable telling,
yeah,
any of those things. I think that's
yeah,
so, yeah, great of you to say.
yeah, 100%. I don't know. I just think like, I mean, moving forward, we just got to evolve ourselves. We've got to evolve the way we do business. We can't keep doing the same thing, otherwise we'll get the same result.
Yeah.
So I think having more conversations and just being really black and white about things is just and I know it's really uncomfortable. Like you don't get no shift or no change just being comfortable all the time. Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying like I'm an expert at these conversations. By all means, like I'm really bad. I get really anxious and really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But even just opening with that,
Yeah.
this is not
This
comfortable
makes
for
me
me to say.
uncomfortable.
This,
Yeah.
this is really awkward. I'm really sorry. And I've said that before. If I'm having a conversation with one of my team, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I just need to say it, and
Yeah.
let's just dive in.
Otherwise, like exactly what you said, you dwell on a scenario and you're replaying it and it gets 10 times worse because you're making up all these things in your head. Totally.
Yeah, hundred
Now,
percent.
is there anything as we come up to our kind of hour of, is there anything that when, we've planned this chat for a little while that you really wanted to make sure that you spoke about or wanted to get out there? Is there anything that you feel like you haven't left on the floor? Again, these sayings. I need to get a sayings book.
I'm so here for them.
Honest to God. He's like, that is not the, he's very Irish. He's like, that is not the expression. And I was like, well, what do you know? You don't even know Canadian expressions.
So good.
Oh gosh. But is there
No,
anything, yeah, that you had that you really did want to make sure you got out there, or do you feel like we've covered it? Where are you at?
no, we've covered so much. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like I do want salon owners to have a little bit more confidence and vulnerability and trust in their teams and just, take ownership. But don't think that you'll ever get to a point where you're just this, perfect salon owner, because you won't.
Yeah.
It's a complete journey and you're always fucking up and doing the wrong thing. But you're learning. They're just lessons. They're not failings, they're just lessons, and just keep going and moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciated this conversation. And I think something that my brain is ticking that I'd love for you to do after, if you wanted, is to
Yeah,
maybe give a list of the books or of,
yeah,
the things that you read that you think have made you a better leader or
yeah,
employee, the things that you really like your staff listening to, whether it be an audiobook, a podcast, or something. I think
yeah.
those are the things that you can listen to this conversation. But then after, I'm like, oh, but I actually don't know what, she was talking about with
How
this
did
or
you
that.
yeah, how did you get to
Yeah,
that
like
point?
let's take that and have that be in the show notes, that for the business owner listening to this or for the
Yeah,
employee or someone
yeah,
thinking about getting into the industry listening to this, I'll make
yeah,
two different kind of columns and we'll put it into the post for the notes of things that we can do to better ourselves and progress and that have
yeah,
helped you to do
100%.
that.
I'd love to. Yeah, definitely. It's all about sharing, isn't it?
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really
Thank you.
appreciate having this conversation, and I just love nothing more than to connect and share people's stories and learn people's stories. So I appreciate what you're doing for the industry and being open and being there for your team. And yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having this platform and inviting me. I feel like you were coming into
No
it.
way. I love it. I do so I'm literally doing like 2 interviews a day now because I'm like, I love it. Like it doesn't, yeah, I would go crazy if I was sitting on the couch
Yeah,
all day.
100%.
So
No,
this
I
is
yeah,
exactly what I,
especially it gives you something to look forward to, doesn't it? Like it's
and a
just,
distraction, I think, more
yeah,
so than, I think when we're on the phone talking to everybody all the time now, it's
yeah,
a lot of what's happening. So this is
yeah,
like a completely not that topic that
beautiful. Yeah,
clears your brain for an
100%.
hour, I hope, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
do.
Yes, you are doing it. Thank you so much. I
Okay,
really
have a
appreciate it.
great day, Maria.
You too, babe.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Successful Stylist Unfoiled. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube to get all the notifications of our weekly episodes.